Hello, welcome to the LOSG Rundown, Episode 6. This is Clayton Voiles with my blue blanket. I'm joined by Bradley Huffbauer.
Bum, bum, ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da. I just feel like we have needed a theme song for a number of weeks, and the Top Gun theme song is great. So that's all.
Anytime you can pay honor to Kenny Loggins, I fully support that. So yeah, as I mentioned, Brad List is not joining us because he's ashamed that he lost the Eric Ebron bet last week. The bet was that I said Eric Ebron would not be top 10. He said he would be. Eric Ebron ended up being the 21st best tight end last week. Therefore, he lost, and therefore he's not on the show. That's how we do things. Bradley's beard is more magnificent. That's also why he's here.
Clearly. Freshly trimmed.
Dang. All right, so tonight we're going to get right to fantasy football. We're doing our halfway awards. We're halfway through the season now. We're going to applaud some of you, shame some others, and probably a combination of both. But first, a couple of reminders. Bye weeks. Hopefully you're aware that there are bye weeks. If you constantly have rosters that are not full or not set, it will be noticed, and you might get kicked out of the league if it keeps happening. So please be aware of the bye weeks. Trade deadline is November 10th. So get some trades done. If you're looking for a trade partner or have any demands or anything like that, go ahead and let us know. We can bring it up here to our wildly successful and popular video show. Or you could also just email the entire league as well. That's always an option. Bradley, anything as far as a greeting to everyone and all your adoring
Well,
fans?
I mean, I just think that the other way that you could communicate is you could ask Brad List for advice and then post like a group message and then just wait for him to basically belay his advice right after he gives it to you. So publicly, I mean, just for those of you who don't know Brad, that's what you can do if you'd like to.
Yeah.
So
it is the easiest and the most unwise thing you could do at the same time. So definitely recommended.
Joe won't do it. That's for sure. Joe definitely won't do it.
Yeah. So here we are, week 8. Looking around at the divisions. Again, the DABA division continues to have only winning records. So congrats to everyone here. The Yaba division, if you got rid of Joe, is doing pretty well. And the Do division is a pile of do. So well done. What do you mean expectations?
Can we rename the divisions to Yabba Dabba Doo Doo?
Ooh, yes, we can.
And I just feel like it would be more appropriate.
Yes, that's how we incentivize people. I like it. Also, I think one thing we need to really talk about is the rise of Joe and how scared Bradley should be. I think everyone should notice that first and Cole, Joe Huffbauer had his first win and therefore is on a winning streak. So there's that.
His tight end is currently tied with my defense. So
nice. Oh, because you guys are playing this week.
We are playing. Oh, well, it's his kicker.
Joe has a lineup. And look at this. Is choosing to start Trubisky over Aaron Rodgers. Is that because he's a Bears fan, or do you think that's the wise play? What do you think, Bradley?
I think it's just I can't believe that it would be really either of those things, because why would you have Aaron Rodgers on your roster if you truly were a Bears fan? And then Trubisky, I don't know about starting Trubisky. It's a risky move. 2 straight games with 300 yards and multiple touchdowns, so maybe.
It's interesting. As a Bears fan, I both like and don't like Trubisky, but right now he is the hottest QB in fantasy. Since week 4, he's averaging more than 34 points per game and ranks second in the league for touchdown passes, despite being on a bye one of those weeks. So he has the most points in a 3-game span by any QB since Cam Newton in 2012.
Wow.
He also has more rushing yards this season than LaShawn McCoy.
I saw that he had more rushing yards this past week than any other player on his team.
Yes, it's not always a good thing. So, I mean, he is doing quite well in fantasy football.
Yeah.
Now he needs to do well in the real field.
That rushing TD was awesome, I will say.
It was. It looked exhausting.
Looked exhausted. It looked
70
terrifying.
yards.
It looked terrifying.
It looked like he walked in at the end. I don't know.
I'll run backwards 20 yards and then forwards 30 yards. I mean, it's nice
strategy. So, all right, well, let's get into our main segment, the halfway awards. I forgot to ask if you had a better name for it, so we will just call it that. So we're going to go through. We're going to awards that we made up. We'll go through and kind of award them, or really just comment on each of them.
Allow myself to introduce myself. Award the awards.
To myself.
To myself.
So first, we're going to start with the Black Box Yahoo Lifetime Ratings Award. No one really understands what this means, but we are going to base an award on it.
I tried to figure it out when I was reading your notes. I was just like, I don't know what this is going to be.
I thought it's interesting. If we look through there, first of all, I want to give the award to Tyler, also known as Vandelay Industries. When you look at his team, he's made a big jump this year. Obviously, he's averaging 126 points per week. He is in first place. And if you look up till last year, he was at 587, and he has jumped up to 639 this season. And until this year, where he's doing really well, he had losing records. So as far as the biggest improvements, I definitely want to award that to him. As far as confusing, I'm actually going to go with you and your brother, Bradley and Joe Huffbauer. Looking at you, it's just very confusing. You've won 2 championships, and yet 651 right now is your highest point. So even in the years where you won championships, you weren't this high.
I know. It's due to my participation in other fantasy football leagues and even non-fantasy football things.
Things are always to blame.
They are to blame.
And you somehow have a tie, which I didn't know was possible in fantasy football.
It was down to the 100th of a point.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then looking at your brother, he also magically has a tie. Was that against you?
Oh, maybe it was actually.
Yeah, and your win percentage is very close. But I will say, Joe, it looks like he peaked in 2015, and in many ways, not just fantasy football, but he had looks like a 596 back then.
I think that was the last year that he ran a marathon, actually. So maybe we should encourage him to get back. Joe has run 4 marathons, to be clear.
Good for him.
Right?
I don't know.
It's impressive.
So yeah, did you have any award winners for the Black Box Yahoo Lifetime Ratings Award?
I mean, I was going to name myself. So, I mean, that was one of them. I'd like to see Andy. Can we take a look at Andy's team?
Of course.
As the Lifetime Achievement Award. And yeah, I was thinking that Andy was kind of like, what's the mountain? It's like Pikes Peak. Mm-hmm. As soon as I opened it, I was like, Andy is Pikes Peak.
So he's traveling from the West Coast.
There you go.
And now we're in the plains.
He's in the plains. He's having a tough time in the plains.
Well, it looks like he's coming back at like the Appalachians here.
Right, but look at that peak. I mean, 750. I don't know. I was impressed by that height.
Well, if you look, he had first place in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the year he got first place and won the league.
And like the year I won the league, the years plural. I mean, it's just
allegedly
nowhere even near. So,
yeah, strange. All right, well, on to the next one. Let's go ahead and look at team names, best team names and worst team names. What do you have for that?
Man, I feel like Screwed by the Bell is probably one of my favorite team names that we have on here. I mean, it's apt for the player, and it's just so.
The picture really makes it too.
It's great. I think that's Andy, right?
Playing Screech, I guess, maybe.
I mean, that's incredible that you can even get that kind of a look. from one of the people on this team. So
it's amazing.
I think that's my favorite.
For me, I'm going to give most effort to Brad List. Like any good joke, it helps when you explain it, and he had to explain it to us.
Yeah.
There's a lot of effort here, so I got to applaud that. The most passion, I'm going to award to Andrew with Deshaun. All last year, he quested after him and got him from the discards a couple weeks ago. And as you can tell, is very excited. It has a picture of Deshaun from college.
I'd like to just give one award, which is the Team Name Lifetime Award, which goes to Brad Voiles for Three Dog Night. I mean, that the amount of consistency in his team name, he never wavers. It's just, it's ongoing.
Good point. I was going to award him the most comfortable because he's just good at it. That's a good way.
Finds his groove and he's set.
Least effort, I'm going to award to Joe Huffbauer. He has the same picture he had when Jay Cutler was in the NFL, and his wordplay is based on a player who's no longer on his team. So, Joe, I award you least effort.
From Christmas time last year, really. So,
and my last one is actually the Jay Cutler Don't Care Award goes to my brother Sean, who has not changed the team name from the person whose team he took it over. And
I was gonna mention it as the worst, but I didn't feel like I could do that to Sean because I never know if he's actually in here.
Well, it especially is bothersome because this is a Cubs fan thing, and he, as a Christian, is a Cardinals fan, and it just bothers me that, this is not the Cardinal way. So I hope that gets fixed sometime soon.
It's amazing.
All right, under our next award, trades. Best trade, worst trade. Sadly, there's only been 3 trades in our league this season. And I was involved with 2/3 of them. So do you have any comments on the trades?
I mean, people already know my feelings on the worst trade of the year, which is surprisingly involved Joe. But
I think Joe's won this trade so far. Trey Burton has outscored Gronk. There's been no Gronk smash.
Has he?
Gronk just keeps on getting injured.
Yeah, I think I stopped paying attention. But I'm just standing by my position from earlier, really, is all it is. I think I like this trade between you and Andy. I like this.
I think Andy's won this one so far because I assume Bell would come back and Connor would be meaningless, and that has not happened.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that by the end of the season it works out for me. Julio continues to be afraid of the end zone, which is not a good way to have an NFL career.
It just feels like a strategic trade, and I like that. I like that people are thinking. So
you applaud thinking. I applaud you for applauding thinking. How about best free agent pickup? Have any of those jumped out to you?
The major free agent pickup, I wouldn't call it best, was I dropped Doug Baldwin, and then he was immediately picked up by your brother.
Yeah, so foolish of you to drop Doug Baldwin, but he did offer him to you in a trade. Was it a fair trade offer?
He offered him to me for Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs has underperformed the last 2 weeks, but Doug Baldwin has not performed well at all this year.
Correct.
So
Stephon Diggs, I think, has the 4th most targets in the NFL.
He does. What other good pickups?
Nothing's really jumped out to me yet. I guess it's one of those things we'll see at the end of the season.
Your defensive pickup last week or 2 weeks ago?
Oh, last week with Denver?
Denver. I mean, defenses are always a dart throw, but that was impressive.
Thank you. I'm proud of my Yeldon pickup. I already dropped him today, actually, but for 3 weeks, he gave me more than 10 points a game and helped me get through some victories. So he was good for a time.
It's pretty great.
Otherwise, yeah, I guess we'll have to wait to the end of the season because some of these, like Philip Lindsay, this could be the best pickup by Andy, as well as Lockett. But then I dropped him, so probably not. All right, on to the next award.
Next award.
The worst or saddest injury.
Well, we would have to just start with Brad's team, wouldn't we?
And I was going to award it to Brad's team as well. You walk us through Brad's team.
I don't know if I even can, but look at this bench. I mean, this is maybe one of the saddest. I can't even really make fun of this situation just because of how sad it is.
But to have this, it's amusing though.
It's amusing. It's for sure amusing. But to have this caliber of players all listed as questionable or doubtful is just definitely the saddest situation.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, his last week, if you look at his score from last week, he crushed the competition. I mean, he 119 points. I mean,
he's been very lucky with having Mahomes as his quarterback all season.
I mean, that guy is unbelievable. So
ridiculous. All right, worst pick. I have a clear winner here. Who do you have as worst pick? So from the draft or anything.
Worst pick. You go first.
I'm going with Le'Veon Bell. How frustrating that must be for Andy.
Ooh.
Now, thankfully, he got a hold of James Conner in our trade, but Le'Veon Bell, top 3 pick for everyone, and he's got nothing out of him. And who knows when he'll get something and what it'll look like. So I would say for me, that's the worst pick. And I'm proud of Andy for being in third, even without Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, that's impressive.
But Andy, make sure you get a quarterback before this weekend.
But worst pick?
Worst pick.
Yeah, I mean, so with Le'Veon Bell, I just feel like I don't know. I feel like it's not really his fault necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Go to Joe's team. Sorry, Joe. Worst pick.
So did you just assume you would find it on Joe's team?
I did. No, I really assumed Doug Martin.
You just picked him up today. Just like Doc Martens.
Just worst pick. Just click on those stats one more time just for a pickup for today. What a solid player. Look at this. 1, 2, 4, 1, 0.
I just like to point out, Joe's a visionary, or so he claims. He's on a 1-game winning streak, and he's thinking Doug Martin will lead him to victory over you this week.
I would say this is maybe my worst pick. This would be for sure. But what did he pay for Doug Martin? Like nothing probably.
Nothing.
Yeah. Well, that's still the worst pick.
Next award, Rookie of the Year. Rookie of the Year. And I think we need to clarify this and say Rookie of the Year besides Saquon Barkley, because he's ridiculous. And I think he's the key to Vandelay's rise this year. Because of the lottery, Vandelay wasn't the worst team last year, but because of the lottery, he was able to get the first overall pick, which gave him Saquon Barkley, which has been incredibly helpful. So besides Saquon Barkley, who is the best rookie so far?
Who did Brad pick? Who was Brad's rookie?
Who's not injured?
Yeah.
Royce Freeman, who has not turned out well.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't look into this. I should have looked into this more clearly. What does Andy have going on? Let's look at Andy's team. Did he pick up any rookies?
All right. So instead of fumbling around the teams, I'm going to help you out. So some of the rookies that stand out to me. So Sony Michel, he's injured for a few weeks.
Oh my gosh.
He's looking quite good.
Sony Michel is freaking awesome for New England.
So Sony Michel.
Whoever picked up Sony Michel is a visionary for sure.
Andrew, also Deshaun's team. So Sony Michel, is starting to take off and is going to be awesome the rest of the year. So he jumps out to me. Calvin Ridley, surprisingly enough, as the third wide receiver for the Falcons, has actually already had a really good year. And he is owned by Zach. So he's been a surprise to me. And yeah, I think some of the rookies are just starting to get going. Calvin Ridley had those 3 ridiculous weeks earlier on.
Yeah.
As right now, for me, it'd be Sony Michel, ignoring Saquon Barkley, and then hopefully Kerryon Johnson. He's starting to take off as well.
Yeah, Sony Michel for sure. I mean, when I watch him play, he's just, I don't know. He is a player who digs in and fights through every single yard that he gets. I mean, he is a monster on the field.
Right.
And to be playing with Tom Brady, I feel like he's going to be set up for some success for the future.
Good. All right, so that's our award winner. Next award, the Shouldn't Be Surprised Award. So since I probably didn't tell you what this meant, I'll go first. For me, it's LaShawn McCoy. We shouldn't be surprised that he's old and worn down and injured and not doing well because he's on the Buffalo Bills team. So for me, he wins the Shouldn't Be Surprised award. Sadly, he's on your team.
He is sadly on my team, and I wasn't surprised by him. For me, it would actually be a very similar player and a player who I owned last year, Lamar Miller.
Who's he owned by right now?
That's a great question.
Owned by Andrew Deshaun.
Oh, there it is.
Who Lamar Miller has 18 points in the ongoing game right now.
Wow. Take a look at his stats for the year. Let's see. Wow, I did not see last week's game with him.
So you were surprised by your shouldn't be surprised.
I am surprised. I shouldn't be surprised.
I am surprised that he's doing well, honestly.
I am surprised that he's doing well. He fits into that same category for me. I thought that this shouldn't be surprised by a team that's going to win or lose in our league, but I'll save that until our next prediction.
All right. I'm proud of Joe. Joe's holding on for Deontay Foreman because the thinking is once he comes back, Lamar Miller will recede and he will take over like he did at the end of last year. So again, Joe with the foresight.
Or something.
All right, and our last award, surprise teams, both good and bad. So you take the lead here. Who are your winners?
Surprise teams, both good and bad so far.
Yep.
Honestly, I would say Andy as a good team. I mean, with how badly he did last year, I am really, really impressed with his ability to turn around the team in 1 year. So
he did. I remember at the draft, he did a great job. He dumped most of his team. He only kept a few.
Yeah.
As you can tell here, 2 keepers, Tyreek Hill and Golden Tate, and he just made some wise draft picks with his money.
I'm very impressed with Andy's year so far. So he would be my pick for this award.
All right. And how about bad?
Like surprised that they're doing so badly.
Correct.
I mean, I've got to say Sean's team.
Yeah, the Darius Geis injury definitely hurt him, and Jordan Howard not being used by the Bears, that has hurt him as well.
That's true. I felt like Nate, I don't know, maybe Nate had paid less attention last year than I had really realized. But
I had a great core. Maybe Keenan Allen, Odell Beckham.
Yep.
So 2 top 3 or 4 wide receivers last year.
It's just surprising, I guess, that they're not performing better than this. So
it's true. All right, for me, as far as good, I'm going to give it to Vandelay because, again, he's just on the back of Saquon Barkley and also Emmanuel Sanders having a great year. Andy Dalton not being horrible. It's been, and Tevin Coleman kind of coming to the forefront with Devontae Freeman's injury. He's having a really good year, and his points per week is just insane. 126 points per week is what he's averaging.
Again, I chalk this up to schedule.
So we'll see. In the predictions, we can come back to that. And as far as bad, Brad List is my bad surprise. The core of his team scared me in the preseason, but thanks to injury, he has not been that good, and yet he's still in a pretty good. I mean, he's averaging 104 points a week. Is all thanks, of course, to Patrick Mahomes and Michael Thomas. But he is doing quite well this week and last week, so he could be coming back now with his team getting healthy again, and he could be scary in the playoffs or at the end of the season. All right. And for our last segment, predictions. So predictions for the rest of the season. First of all, comeback team. Who do you think will have a second half success story? I'll go first since I already kind of teased it. Brad List, I think his team will be the comeback team and will have a second half success story as his players get healthy. How about you?
I'm gonna go with Joe on this.
Really? This is not a joke.
Yeah, no, this is not a joke, but I just need to qualify what I mean by comeback. I don't mean like he's going to come back and get into the playoffs or something like that, but I just mean he's going to do better than 1-6 in the back half.
So really, just based on the odds, he will have more than one win in the second half of the season.
My prediction will come true, Clayton. It's almost guaranteed.
At your expense, maybe this week, but probably not.
That could happen.
All right. How about the fall flat on their face team? So second half failure. Who is going to maybe not do as well in the second half of the season as they were doing in the first half of the season?
You know my answer on this, Clayton. You know my answer on this.
Well, here, I'll go first, and then it'll empower you for your answer. I love you, Bradley, but I'm worried that your team is going to have a tougher second half of the season than they did the first half of the season. I'm worried on your team about Adrian Peterson and James White. But I am, and of course, LaShawn McCoy, but I am excited that you got Traquan Smith. You got some up and comers. But I am worried because you had a lot. It doesn't mean you'll be bad in the second half, but you had a terrific first half of the season. You were in first place up until last week, and now you're in fifth place just because of the divisions. But yeah, so I think you will have not as good of a second half of the season.
My bench is going to be filled with stashes for next year. I can tell you that. So.
Nice, good. Who do you think is going to fall flat on their face in the second half?
Strength of schedule, Vandalay Industries. You have had the easiest schedule for all of your players for the last 5-6 weeks, first 6 weeks at least. And from here on out, it is going to be more difficult. So,
as he plays Andy, Brad Voiles, Brad List.
Oh, no, I'm talking about his players' strengths of schedule.
Oh, but here as well, these are some tough teams.
Oh, yeah, right on. No, I mean, look at I think Andy is a strong contender. I think Brad Voiles is a very strong contender. To your point, I really do believe that Brad is going to have a very strong second half of the year as his players become healthy. So, I mean, his next 3 weeks are tough.
They're tough.
And I really do think that Sean does have a good team in Go Busters. You know, I think that it's possible for him to have really, really strong weeks. So,
right. Good points. Good analysis. All right, next one. The smoothest path to the playoffs. I'm giving it to Andy. I think Andy has the smoothest path, just as a division winner. Right now, he has quite the lead on the rest of his division. And looking at his schedule the rest of the way, he has some good opponents there. I think the only complicating factor might be Le'Veon Bell coming back if he is not the clear-cut running back and splits carries with Connor, that might make it tricky for him. But just based on his division standings and his current lead on his division, I believe he has the smoothest path to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to go with Brad List on this. Now, I think that he's in an easier division, obviously, than Daba, easily. And I think his players are looking strong for the second half, but I don't think that there's a chance that he dips below second place in his division and that he gets enough wins in to actually slide into the playoffs without too much of an issue.
Makes sense. All right, and for the last prediction, who is the hardest path to the playoffs? I chose Joe, even though he is your second half comeback kid. Joe, I worry that you're not going to make the playoffs. I can't put my finger on it, but I just have concerns.
I don't know. Something about it. Something about that team makes me wonder. I'm gonna go with Andrew on this one. I don't really feel like Andrew has a lot cooking.
Surprise! New prediction here. Who's gonna have a better record at the end of the year? Andrew as Deshaun or Joe as First and Cole?
Ugh.
Let's see. Yahoo.
Can we do a different prediction? Like who changes their name of their team first or something?
Yahoo has them both ending at 2-11. This means that each will have one more victory.
I think Joe could get at least 2 more victories. Does he play Andrew again? Just
Let's see. Joe as you, and then there's a victory, and then Sean, Andy, me, Brad, Jim.
Yeah, no, Joe may not win again. Andrew can get more wins.
Maybe. They both have tough ones coming out.
Hard schedules.
We got to make a prediction though. I'm going to trust that Andrew, in the rise of Deshaun Watson, Andrew is going to end up with a better record than Joe.
Yeah. Man, based on that schedule, I'm going to go with Andrew also.
I'm trying to document all these bets and predictions so that we can revisit them at the end of the year.
That's good.
That'll be an interesting one to see.
What's the spread on any of this? Do we need to put down a spread?
No, I don't understand spread. All right. Any final predictions, comments, hurtful thoughts? Want to lob them towards anyone? Anything else?
I want to give props to Andy for dominating by almost 2 whole points last week. I think Vandalay Industries just slipped by with one more win under the skin of their teeth, barely winning that game again. So get ready for Vandalay Industries to fall.
All right. I love that you're sticking to that hot take and continue to fan the flames and keep it hot.
Just what did he win by? Like 60 points? I mean, there's no way that could keep going.
It's his points per week are just insane.
It is.
Yeah. All right. Well, Bradley, thank you for joining us tonight. And everyone, have a good one.
Have a good one.